again, thank you all so much for having me. I'm happy to be here tonight to kind of teach you, a little bit about Sandy Hook Promise and the Know the Signs program. So as Gail said, my name is Christina. I am a Promise Leader volunteer, which means I volunteer for the Sandy Hook Promise organization. And again, as Gail said, I was not only living in Newtown at the time of the Sandy Hook shooting, I was also born and raised in Newtown. Sandy Hook, when the school shooting happened, it was obviously very near and dear to my heart. Many people I had grown up with were impacted by the shooting. I had, friends whose parents were educators at Sandy Hook Elementary at the time. I know people who were first responders on the scene. So very near and dear to my heart. I still have, most of my family still lives in Newtown today. So, when the shooting at Sandy Hook happened, obviously we were all deeply impacted. So like many people, wanted to figure out how to turn some of that grief into action. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about the Sandy Hook Promise. But really how I got involved was really just looking for ways to, again, channel some of my grief and sadness and anger into something a little bit more tangible. So, I've really been following the Sandy Hook Promise since the program's inception back in January of 2013. And, I've been doing it in different ways, right? So, in addition to just financial contributions, I would support different events that Sandy Hook Promise was running, including, they used to do some 5K road races to help fundraise and make donations in that sense. I would participate in those. And then I started to become what they call a Promise Leader, which is, just someone that comes and volunteers and, participates in some different ways, right? So it could be anything from reposting some of the videos and Sandy Hook Promise, Facebook posts on Facebook to get the word out to my own network, writing lawmakers, signing petitions, things like that. Generally very simple steps that, allow you to take action that can be very meaningful. And then, when Sandy Hook Promise was looking for volunteers to do one of these presentations to kind of spread the word about our Know the Signs program, I thought it was a really great way to get even further involved and, again, spread the message of Sandy Hook Promise and really how you can impact great change within your own community, starting in school. So that's a bit about the background. So what I'm going to go through today, and again, I apologize that I can't get the presentation to share, but I'm going to give you a little bit of information and background about Sandy Hook Promise and the mission of Sandy Hook Promise. I'm going to take you through what our Know the Signs programs are and how the programs help create safer school communities and environments. And then really how the Sandy Hook Promise can help schools to sustain the programs and how you can roll these programs out in your own community. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions. If you want to hold your questions to the end, that would be great. And then we'll definitely, I'll answer as much as I can at the end. So starting with just the background of Sandy Hook Promise. So it is a national nonprofit that's led by family members who lost loved ones in the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School. So as many of you know, that shooting happened December 14th in 2012. And Sandy Hook Promise was founded literally 1 month later, January 13th of 2013. So Mark Barden and Nicole Hockley lead the organization as CEOs. They really helped to create Sandy Hook Promise. They both lost children in the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. So they really looked for a way to bring, again, turn their grief into something tangible, bring the community together, and they founded the Sandy Hook Promise. So it's really, the organization was formed with the intent to honor all victims of gun violence by turning that tragedy into a moment of transformation. And we'll go through how their work really, benefits, not only preventing school shootings, but just preventing, violence and self-harm also from, preventing students from committing acts of violence and self-harm even against themselves. So we will go through all of that. So really the mission of Sandy Hook Promise is to educate and empower youths and adults to prevent violence in schools, homes, and communities. So how do we do that, right? How do we fulfill our mission? So there's a few steps, right? The first one is education. So educating and empowering youths through there's a no cost, know the signs program. It's a prevention program. It really has a couple of components to it, which I'll walk you through each. It's comprised of the Start with Hello program and the Say Something program, and we'll go through the details. But Sandy Hook Promise has developed these really incredible training resources and interactive training videos that are available to everyone at no cost to be able to take these programs into their own communities and school systems. And then they really, so the first part is educating people on these programs, and then sustaining the programs, right? So we really try to sustain the Say Something and Start with Hello through student-led SAVE Promise Club. So SAVE is an acronym for Students Against Violence Everywhere. So that is really a student-run organization that will help, spread the mission of the Know the Signs program. So Know the Signs is kind of the umbrella term for the prevention programs, and Start with Hello and Say Something fall under that Know the Signs umbrella. So then, in addition to, educating and sustaining the program, obviously we advocate as well. So, right, we advocate to pass legislation that advances school safety, mental health, and prevents gun violence. And we look to engage, again, what we call Promise Leader volunteers to take action in our 4 focus areas, which is really building awareness, advocacy, program promotion, and fundraising. So you'll get a lot of that information on the Sandy Hook Promise website as well to really learn how you can get more involved in Sandy Hook Promise. So what are we trying to do, right? Overall, all schools are safe. However, schools and youth are not immune to mental health issues, right? Including bullying, violence, suicide, threats. So Sandy Hook Promise really focuses on teaching youth how to be inclusive and how to recognize the warning signs of someone that may be a threat both to themselves or someone else. So again, the programs that we use are called Know the Signs, and then within that, there are 4 main violence prevention programs. So the first one is Start with Hello. So the goal of Start with Hello is really to minimize the social isolation by teaching signs of loneliness, right? So teaching not, there's healthy alone time and there are signs of loneliness, and it really helps students and children to know the difference and help to differentiate that. It will teach empathy to the students and children so they can, be an empathetic ear to someone that might be in need, and to create a more inclusive and connected culture. So that program is really, we are able to impact students from kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade. So they're all are 2 separate programs, one for K through 5 and the other 6 through 12. And I'll walk you through a bit of those differences also. But really the framework of Start with Hello is really 3 steps, right? So 1, you see someone alone, learn how to recognize the signs of loneliness and social isolation. So again, understand the difference between loneliness and healthy alone time. Reaching out to help, find out what you can do to help others feel included, right? Students become aware of ways to foster inclusion, like saying hello to someone outside of their normal peer group, and kind of how to get past that barrier of fear of rejection, right? Even as an adult, I feel like we still have fear of rejection. So how do you teach children to kind of get past that fear to reach out to someone that they see might be in need? And then the 3rd step is starting with hello, right? A simple way to discover how to break the ice and strike up a conversation, again, with someone that you might not have a past relationship with, but you think could be in need. So students learn how to act on what they've learned in the first 2 steps. And start with hello or another gesture to kind of start that conversation, to show openness with engaging with others. So Start with Hello really helps students participate in building kind and inclusive schools and social environments through taking very simple action. So like I mentioned, the Start with Hello program is available for grades kindergarten through 12th grade. So it is broken down into an elementary school version for kindergarten through 5th, and then a middle and high school version for students in grades 6 through 12. So the kindergarten through 5 curriculum includes very digestible videos and storybooks and activities that are age appropriate for those students. So when you implement the program, you're provided a guide and lesson plans to help implement what the students are going to learn. Again, it's very digestible. I think the activities and the videos are short and they're a little bit more animated for students of that age. And then as you go into the middle and high school curriculum, that's more of a core video presentation that can be shown either on its own or developed into a more complete presentation with the use of supporting materials and discussion guides. So, it's either a freestanding video or you can really start to build a program out around it. And all of that can be found in the Learning Center, which I'll talk you through a little bit later in the presentation. But all of these resources to help set up these programs are available at no cost to you or the school. So it's just a matter of, educating the schools about the program and hopefully being able to bring some of these education materials into the school. So then, schools, educators, volunteers will kind of choose how to deliver the trainings based on your individual capacity. So, if you as a volunteer just wanted to partner with a school, you have all these resources available. It's really up to you to see how broad you want to make the training. But there are certainly, there's a wealth of information out there and resources out there available. So why start with hello, right? So just some facts to give you: 55% of teens see bullying as a major problem among their peers. In schools that are using Start with Hello, report reductions in bullying and other harmful behavior in their school. So they are seeing very real, tangible results in the schools that are using this program. And they show, participants also show improvements in attitude towards school, peer connections, and a sense of empowerment within their own school, right? So again, creating that really inclusive environment. Social and isolation and loneliness can have a significant impact on students' mental and physical health, academic performance, peer relationships. So Start with Hello really increases that connection among youth to help foster those really healthy relationships. Okay. So then I'm going to now shift from out of the Start with Hello program and into the Say Something program. So the Say Something program, again, is pretty straightforward, but the goals are to recognize the warning signs and threats of someone that might be, again, a danger to themselves or others, and empower youth to say something to a trusted adult to get help. So the framework of the Say Something program, again, it's 3 steps, right? One is to recognize the warning signs and threats. So learn about warning signs, including what's posted on social media, right? Any signs that can be observed in their peers or others that can indicate that someone is at risk of harming themselves or someone else that may be experiencing an issue that, requires help. The second step is act immediately and take it seriously, right? Gain strategies, teach students strategies to take action to overcome barriers, overcoming barriers to being an upstander. So instead of being a bystander, the program really encourages students to be an upstander. So students will understand the importance of taking warning signs and threats seriously, understanding the difference of how to be an upstander versus a bystander, and how to overcome that fear of being a snitch, right? We don't want to tell on our friends. We don't want to be the one to rat somebody out. So how do you overcome that fear? And then the third step is say something, right? Tell a trusted adult. Students will become empowered to go to an adult they trust that will, that will act and help them or help the student in need. There is also training available, again, through the Learning Center, on how to become a trusted adult, how to create, in yourself, be someone that students can feel like they can trust with this information and go to if they are seeing someone in need. So again, much like Know the Signs or Start with Hello, the Say Something program is available for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. Again, broken down in 2 separate programs, one for kindergarten through 5th and the other for the middle and high school ages. So very similar formats. The kindergarten through 5th is an interactive storybook. There are activities, there are projects. And then the high school and middle school program really includes core videos, and then it can be developed into more, complete presentations, ongoing lesson plans, that sort of thing. So again, depending on the individual capacity, you have the ability to scale those programs as appropriate. So why say something? So it's just, again, some facts on the impact that this program can have. In 4 out of 5 school shootings, at least one other person had knowledge of the attacker's plan, but did not report it. So it's a pretty staggering statistic when you think of 4 out of 5. Someone could have said something that could have potentially prevented that school shooting. 93% of school shooters plan the attack in advance. So again, being able to be more aware of the signs and having someone that you can go to make aware that there might be a concern can have a very huge impact in preventing these shootings. And then 75% of mass school shooters raised concerns from others prior to the attack. So again, it's 75% of school shootings. There were signs that someone looking back says, oh, I noticed this, or I thought this, but didn't say anything. So how to empower, youth, student, peers to really be able to say something before, something really harmful happens. So ultimately, when you say something, you have the chance to prevent harmful acts from happening. So just a little bit more about the program. So like I mentioned, Start with Hello and Say Something are no-cost programs. They do align with CASEL, which is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. So they align with those competencies. So I can share with Gail afterwards some links to websites that can help you learn more information both about CASEL and Sandy Hook Promise and how you can really take action. So but what CASEL and Sandy Hook Promise kind of do in conjunction is really teach social emotional learning, right? Which is not something generally taught within the school systems today. So social emotional learning is really the process through which children and adults acquire and effectively apply knowledge, attitudes, and skills necessary to understand how to manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, and establish and maintain positive relationships and make responsible decisions. So being able to teach students at a very young age how to, increase their social emotional awareness can really help them to, again, create a safer environment, foster a more inclusive environment that can really help prevent these, tragic acts from happening. Okay. And so then the third program, which is kind of encompassed within the Say Something program, is there is also an anonymous reporting system. So once you, it does require collaboration between the school system and Sandy Hook Promise to set up the anonymous reporting system. But essentially, it would enable students, teachers, and staff to anonymously report any issues that they see 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So there would be an app, a hotline, or a website that if, when they see a classmate or a student who's at risk of harming themselves or others, who may be in crisis, they have the ability to report it immediately. And then there would be an intervention process that would follow. So the implementation of the system does, again, require coordination between the Sandy Hook Promise staff and the school district. There is currently a waiting list for implementation, but it is a really, great tool to be able to have in schools to be able to give, again, students a way to report issues, again, take away some of that fear of, being a snitch or ratting out somebody out or whatever that barrier may be. It really takes that barrier away from them. So right now, the anonymous reporting system is over 120 school districts across the country, as well as the states of North Carolina and Pennsylvania. So based on, the school districts that have the program currently, they've been able to prevent 102 acts of violence with a weapon to date. 397 confirmed lives saved with crisis interventions, and 13 planned school shootings prevented. So implementing this anonymous reporting system, again, has very real, very tangible impact to the lives of students in these districts. So it's a really incredible tool. So how the reporting system works, right? 3 steps. So an anonymous tip is submitted via, whether it's the tip line, there's a phone number, the website, or an app. A crisis counselor would review the tip and categorize it, and the tip is then sent either to the school officials or 911, depending on what resources are needed and how critical and immediate the intervention needed. So either the school or 911 would intervene. So again, it can only be used by schools currently that have gone through the implementation process. But if there are schools who are interested in implementing the anonymous tip reporting system for the Say Something program, then they, again, they can go to the website. I will share that at the end, and they can complete the inquiry form there to get their school on the list. Okay. And then we really go into the Save Promise Club. So the Save Promise Club is, again, the acronym stands for Students Against Violence Everywhere. So just a little bit of background on the Save Promise Club. It was formed in 1989 by a group of students in West Charlotte High School in North Carolina after a fellow student whose name was Alex Orange was shot and killed after trying to discourage violence at a party. So in 2017, the Save Club and Sandy Hook Promise really combined efforts on educating and empowering young people on how to prevent violence. So really the goals of the Promise Club is to, again, educate students on how to create an inclusive school culture, empower youth with knowledge and skills by giving them a platform to use their voice, engage students in meaningful violence prevention efforts, and encourage positive peer influences and mental wellness. So this, again, it's a student-led club. It can be freestanding or combined with another club. It's similar to it can be, let's say there is a Students Against Drunk Driving organization in your school district. It can be combined with that club, or it can be freestanding. So right now, there are over 4,000 Save Promise Clubs with 153,000 members across 49 states. So it's a great movement. It's a great program to have in schools. It's really, again, it's student-led. So students plan and lead the Promise Club activities, and each club has an advisor there for support. So if you were to be a Save Promise Club advisor, typically they spend between 2 and 8 hours per month on club-related activities. And the activities include several different things, right? So anything from creating campaigns to lift up youth voices on creating safer schools and communities, facilitating discussions on what it means to be an upstander, or how to look out for one another, leading events for Sandy Hook Promise, like our call to action weeks, like, Sandy Hook Promise runs a Say Something week, or there's National Youth Violence Prevention Week. So the Save Club would, encourage activities throughout those weeks to raise awareness, coordinating events in the community, such as kindness days or days of service, so days of leadership, and then participating in Sandy Hook Promise's national contests, meetup, and webinars. So great opportunity for students to kind of take that power into their own hands and to be able to spread that message with their peers. And then with that, Say Something also has other companion trainings that are geared towards, volunteers like myself and, hopefully all of you, that are really, it's a Say Something Prevent Suicide training. And there's also the Say Something Be a Trusted Adult training. So the Prevent Suicide training is really geared more towards 6th through 12th grade students, as well as educators, parents, and volunteers that just want to help spread awareness. So it really expands on the core Say Something program to teach warning signs specific to risk factors of suicide. So trainings are more tailored for, again, educators, parents, and older students. And it was developed in consultation with Sandy Hook Promise. So really just, again, how to educate yourselves on knowing those risk factors for youth at risk of suicide. And then the trusted adult training is a 1-hour interactive workshop that helps, again, educators, parents, community leaders such as yourselves better help students who speak up about warning signs of self-harm, violence, and victimization. So really, to be a trusted adult is someone who students view as reliable and caring, a caring source of support, right? They listen and respond appropriately to express concerns, warning signs, and threats of someone who may be at risk of harming themselves or others. So really, it's a 1-hour training to help you better prepare yourself and how to help support students or youth that might come to you as a trusted person, and how to react appropriately. Okay, so it's all great information. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering how to either roll this out in your own districts or how to find more information. So again, I will pass along some websites, but Sandy Hook Promise, through their website, which is sandyhookpromise.org, it links you to their learning center. So their learning center, it's a online digital library. It houses all of the Sandy Hook program materials, including videos, both to educate yourselves and videos to use in the programs, a slideshow presentations and activity guide, again, depending on which age range you're looking for. So anyone that wants to implement the Know the Science programs, or anyone who's just interested in learning more about the curriculum, there is no cost to use any of these resources. They are free and available for you. It does require you to register. I can tell you registration takes probably about 30 seconds. All you need is an email address, and you put in your first and last name and you're basically in. So they really make it very easy for you to gain access to these resources and be able to take it and run with it within your own community. So one thing that they obviously want to encourage is that the program isn't just a one and done, right? It's not going to take one training inside a school to really see the full benefits. So they do have in their learning center a program implementation guide. So it's really it's just, how do you plan for it? How do you train for it? How do you engage, celebrate, and then grow the program? So it really creates a culture change by building the program continuity. So while you can teach to start with hello and say something programs simply by using the core video presentations, using this program implementation guide are really, it's best implemented with the use of the companion materials and planning for sustaining the programs through things like the SAVE club and things like that. So it can really help you develop a plan and kind of help you break down how you might want to implement it within your own districts. So how do Know the Signs programs get into schools and youth organizations? So the biggest key is each of you, right? Just introducing the Know the Signs program to schools and youth organizations and encouraging them to implement the programs, sharing what the programs teach, how they help, and how they can be sustained. Really, the Sandy Hook staff support schools implementing the program. So if you do need help implementing them, the Sandy Hook Promise staff is there to support you. Again, anyone that's conducting a program promotion should become familiar with the programs, but if you go onto the website, they have, core presentations in the Learning Center, gives you lots of information about all the programs, and really can help you take that information and present it to, again, a school or youth organization and roll it out. So again, resources available on the website. I will share those websites. That's really the end of the presentation I had, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I have a question for you, Christina. Will you talk a little bit more about the warning signs of someone who might be a risk to themselves or to others? What to look out for?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but really, some of them they teach you to look out for is really signs of social isolation, someone that acts aggressively towards others, someone that has a severe change in behavior. So when you notice a change in, someone's temperament, someone's behavior, how they act, kind of like that withdrawal are some of the signs that they teach you to look out for. Social media obviously plays a very big role in that these days. So knowing the difference between, just knowing how to or when to take seriously someone's post on any social media, right? It's not always very overt things that someone might be posting, but simple things that just, kind of, I think we've all seen things, right? When you read something, kind of makes you pause, right? How do you interpret that information to say something might be going on here? This person might need more help than they're letting on. So, the programs definitely walk you through how to spot those things in more detail. And that's certainly not all of the signs, but those I think are some of the bigger ones of like when you're noticing those change in behaviors, when you're seeing someone withdraw, when you're reaching out to someone and they're resistant to, your communication. I think those are all just warning signs that something else might be going on there.
Thank you, Christina.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
So there was something.
I got one over here.
So how do you coordinate with mental health professionals? Where are they brought into the process to help children who are having these difficulties?
So I think I caught your question correctly. How does the program kind of work with mental health professionals? I believe is what your question was. Go ahead. So Sandy Hook Promise, when developing the curriculum, worked with professionals to, again, build out some of the programs, right, of knowing the signs and, what has been proven to help prevent acts of violence. So that's really what the Sandy Hook program is focused on, is knowing those signs and how to report it. Once you report it, again, whether it's through that anonymous tip line, that is when it really transfers over to, people who would physically help that student who may be in need. So that is when the intervention would happen. Sandy Hook Promise can help support that intervention. But, again, even through the anonymous tip line, it gets, depending on what the situation is, it will either get deferred to the school or 911 depending on the severity and the immediacy of the situation, where there would be someone that's there that's trained to intervene. So it's not within the Know the Signs program, the expectation is not that you are necessarily preventing anything, or you're not doing that crisis intervention, but you are learning the warning signs to help get the intervention that is needed. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So Linda,
Great.
I have a question. So, my question is, what was the name of the program? Is it the State Promise Club in Charlotte, North Carolina?
Yes, it started in North Carolina. Yeah, it's the State Promise Club, Students Against Violence Everywhere.
But is it in Charlotte, North Carolina? I have a granddaughter who lives there.
It's definitely North. Hold on, let me get the exact city again. Hold on. It started in North Carolina. Now it's a national program that we partner with. Give me 1 second. I have it here. Yes, West Charlotte High School, North Carolina.
West Charlotte High School, North Carolina.
Yes.
Another question I would have, why wouldn't all schools want this program? I mean, do you ever have schools where the program is turned down? It just seems like a win-win for everyone.
Absolutely. I don't think I've really not heard many, of any schools really saying no. I think it's just more about educating the school and getting it implemented, right? There's no reason why they wouldn't, right? It's a benefit for everybody. And again, it's no cost, it's volunteer run, it's student run. So it is, we like to say, a very easy addition to the curriculum. It's just a matter of really educating the school districts and what it is and what we're able to provide, and kind of building out the program from there. All the resources, again, are done for you. So it's just a matter about, finding the way to take all the information on the website and kind of build out that program. But no, absolutely, it's a win-win. And again, there's been really very real, tangible results associated with each of these programs, which is pretty incredible.
So it would seem as if that if, that very few schools would say no to this. It's just a matter of educating and then going out. I mean, educating would be a form of going out, or going out would be a form of educating and telling, making an appointment and going to talk with someone in a school and with
Absolutely.
your iPad or something, being a little informed ourselves first, because
Yep.
our organization is about women, children, and youth. And I mean, the children and youth component is part of who we are about as a Christian organization. Certainly guns have a life, have a purpose in some people's lives, but this is not what this is about. This is
Absolutely. No, so this is really not, this is not a political statement. You know, I know when Sandy Hook Promise was first founded, some founders actually, they kind of broke into a few organizations. So I know one is the Newtown Action Alliance. That is much more of a working with state legislature. You know, they go to Washington, D.C. fairly frequently to fight for gun reform, I will say. Sandy Hook Promise is really focused on knowing the warning signs and getting students the help they need. So it is really not political. They don't, you know, they're not backing candidates. It's really just how to know the signs and get students the help they need, which I also think, you know, it makes it more palatable for, I think, some school districts that, you know, maybe they don't want the political piece, but I think everyone can see the benefit in just teaching students and youth how to know the signs, how to be a little bit more, you know, have that a little bit more of that social emotional intelligence aspect that really isn't part of a normal school curriculum today. And I'll also add that, you know, a lot of this talks about it being done in schools and through educators. But I know you, within your church group, it's also, you can roll out the Save Promise Club within your own church organization as well. If there was interest, you know, it's spoken a lot about happening in schools, but absolutely any organization can kind of take this information and create a program about it. So it's something you can even do through your own church as well.
Thank you. Let's give Christina a hand. Thank you so much, Christina. You're fantastic.
My pleasure. Great. I'm so happy that you all had me. I really appreciate all of your time and for listening. Again, I apologize that my PowerPoint wasn't working, but I will send the links over and then that can hopefully be shared with each of you. So if you want any more information, again, sandyhookpromise.org has everything. Register for the Learning Center. It's super easy, but I will send all that out. And if I can answer any other questions for you, you know, Gail and Esprit have my contact information, so I'm available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful evening.
You as well. Bye.
So can you